Hi, everyone. This is Paul from Similarweb, sending a quick note as we head into fourth quarter and evaluate tool sets for 2022. Now, we've had some really amazing additions over the last couple of months since you may have last seen us, and wanted to highlight just how much time and effort we've dedicated specifically around providing you audience insights. So, what I'd like to start with are our newest audience loyalty data, where we can provide a current picture of how loyal the consumer base is for your client's domain. Now, by looking at multiple sites at once, we can quickly note the percent of consumers who visit multiple sites in a given industry. So when we look at the airline industry, we can see about 16% of visitors only visit one site. But it's interesting to observe that we see about 37% of Southwest visitors that are only visiting that site compared to 27% of American airline visitors. So we're seeing some pretty high loyalty factors within those airline contenders. Now, clients also love our new versus returning features, which really does a great job of quickly pointing out some visitors who have not been to a particular site in the past 3 months. So we define those as new users. So here you can see within the new users that we're looking at an average of about 3.7, 3.8 million new users to Delta over the last 3 months, compared to Southwest, United, and American. Now we can switch that around and look at the returning users to get a sense of how many are continuing to come back. And, again, you can see Southwest is holding over 6.3 million, Delta's in the 4 million, American Airlines 4.6. So it's a really good measure to see just what that traffic looked like on a new versus returning basis. Now, the audience overlap is a really interesting way to track how much of an audience is split between competitors. So by hovering over the graph, we can easily see just how audiences shared in a really nice visualization. So when we look at that 100% of the American airline audience, we can quickly see that they share about 24.7% of their unique visitors with Delta. And concentrically, we can also look to see what that share is with Southwest, as well as all four of how many visitors are sharing across all four different sites. What's really nice too is we can then get a sense of audience loyalty by comparing the four sites. And when we look at these four, there's exclusive visitors where they're in the 50, 60% range of going to just one site. But when you look at those that have visited more than one site, you're seeing 27, 28%. And then you can look at two or more, three or more sites and more. Now, when we take a look at our audience interests, here's where we're looking at some of these features to look at cross-browsing behavior as well as hot topics distribution. I'll get to that in a second. So the cross-browsing metrics display how much of a website, from a competitive standpoint, how we're losing those. So when we look at Delta, we can see that there's, 10.5% of Delta visitors are also going to Southwest, and 9% to United, and 11% to American Airlines. We can also look at the opposite of that too, where we can see and observe how much of a competitor's website are also visiting our site. And by scrolling down, here's where we can look at some of those really interesting industry perspectives of where Delta visitors are likely to browse, and some of those key topics of distribution across those sites, and some of those words that really resonate within those sites, like health and business and education. So lastly, I would just want to follow up by looking at some of our ranking distribution, which we've been able to track for quite some time, but this does a really, really nice job of identifying how well we're looking at those keyword searches and how that's tracked from month over month. So when we take a look at July as an example, we can see that all the rankings for Delta has increased, as much as 41% of ranking within positions 1 to 3, 15% up for those in positions 4 to 10 and more. This type of insight is really nice when you break it down and look at our individual keyword searches, look at where their position is, our volume, cost per click information, search engine result, paid features, and more. So there's so much additional that we can offer, but please reach out with any specific client requests. Very much would love to have a continued conversation, and here's to a really busy fourth quarter for us all.